Today we're going to look at why mobility is important and how to train it. Hi, I'm Jason Pierce. I'm a personal trainer, and today I'm going to talk about the fundamental of fitness called mobility. And just as a recap, we went over the three fundamentals of fitness: strength, endurance, and mobility in this video, which you can check out. I've already talked about strength and I've talked about endurance, so this week we're talking about mobility. Essentially, mobility is your ability to move freely. Some people think mobility is flexibility, and it's tied together, but they are not the same thing. Flexibility is the ability of a muscle to move freely. Mobility is the ability of a joint to move freely. So for example, you could have really flexible muscles, say in your leg, like I do in both my legs. I can touch my toes, I can bend over, I can do all sorts of things with both my legs, but my left knee does not have the same mobility as my right knee because of the torn cartilage in the left knee. The mobility is limited. So why is mobility important? I mean, there's several things that mobility does for us. When you can move your joints through a full range of motion, you're going to be less injury prone. For example, if you look at offensive linemen in football, there's these huge guys. You would not think of them as being particularly flexible or mobile, but they train flexibility and mobility really hard because the positions they put their bodies in the bottom of piles and all these things going on with all this weight, the more mobility they have in their joints, the less chance they have of being injured. Most offensive linemen can do a full split because they know how important it is for mobility and flexibility in their legs so that they do not get injured. Mobility can help prevent injury. It can also just help us to feel better and be able to reach things and be... There's sort of a stereotype of a bodybuilder that's just like so big, but they can't touch their nose because they have no mobility. And to a certain extent, that can be true of bodybuilders, but other sports as well, where you focus so much on one thing that you lose mobility elsewhere. But if you think of, say, a gymnast, they have tremendous mobility and flexibility because they are training that. And their joints can go through all sorts of stuff that most people cannot. And they train that. And that can be trained. You can train mobility. So how do you train mobility? Well, I mean, you could take gymnastics lessons. That would be a great way to do it. Yoga is an awesome way to train mobility because yoga is all about getting your body mobile in different positions. If yoga is not for you, martial arts in general, most martial arts train mobility in some form. If you do something like Tai Chi, for example, that is another one that you won't think of as a fighting martial art, but it really gets you in a full range of motion in a lot of ways. Qigong is another one that does the same thing, without the wear and tear that a more traditional fighting martial arts would do to you. But the other things you can do is just do plyometric exercises. What's a plyometric exercise? So something where you're moving explosively to warm joints up. So like high knees and butt kicks, for example, or skaters. Or if you've ever seen people warming up for an athletic event when they use the ladder and they're doing the agility ladder, that's another one that's great for mobility. Dynamic stretching is really good for mobility as opposed to static stretching. Static stretching, where you hold something for a while, is good for flexibility. Dynamic stretching is good for mobility. They're both good for both. Static stretching is much better for flexibility. Dynamic stretching is much better for mobility. All of these things work together. I'm talking about strength, endurance, and mobility. If you're the strongest person in the world but have no mobility, say, in your legs, you're not going to be able to move very fast or very well. If you are incredibly mobile and incredibly strong but have no endurance, you're not going to be able to do anything for very long. You need to have all three of these things working together. As we age, which, I talk about this a lot, mobility becomes incredibly important because that is what helps prevent falls. Really helpful for balance, which is, again, why yoga is so good for that. Or martial arts, Tai Chi, it's really good on helping balance. And the more mobile our hips are, the more mobile our legs are, the better chance we have of staying upright when we lose our balance. Some of the big spots where people lack flexibility are their hips, and then parts of the spine and shoulders. My shoulders are really my Achilles heel of mobility. They're constantly tight, and I have issues with my full range of motion in them. I think because I've been doing yoga for so long now, it's improved dramatically, but I still know there's work to be done in my shoulders. If you look at swimmers, their shoulders can do everything because they're constantly doing this motion, right? So their shoulders are amazing. So I'm probably going to start taking up swimming one of these days. I keep saying I'm going to, but I haven't yet. I need to get some lessons on how to swim properly. Mobility can help us just with everyday life, getting off the floor. You have to be mobile to get off the floor without using your hands. You also have to be strong. I've said this before. Getting onto the floor, you need to have mobility in your hips and your knees and your ankles in order to get onto the floor. The more mobility you have when you're younger, the more you will have when you're older if you keep training it. So, and again, it's also never too late to train mobility. You know, if you're in your 80s, you can go to yoga classes and increase your mobility very easily. All these things are trainable, should be trained, and will help benefit your life. I hope you found this information helpful. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and as always, stay healthy.